Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Devye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Krishna book, chapter 87, prayers by the personified Vedas. Continuing with Srila Prabhupada's purport. Dear Lord, the personified Vedas continued. If saintly persons do not take care to eradicate completely the roots of sinful desires, they cannot experience the super soul, although he is sitting side by side with the individual soul. So, saintly persons, or for anybody, if we do not take care to eradicate completely the roots of sinful desires, so they cannot experience a super soul. It's not just, okay, Paramatma ko dekh liya, just see Paramatma. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. Because of sinful desires, we are so busy in trying to fulfill those desires, and that creates a root, kuta, then bija, and then aprarabdha, then prarabdha karma, and the cycle goes on and on and on and on. So we don't even experience, or we don't even look at the super soul sitting right next to our soul, individual soul. One who is not free from the sinful reactions cannot see the super soul. If a person has a jeweled locket in his necklace but forgets a jewel, it's almost as though he does not possess it. Similarly, if an individual soul meditates but does not actually perceive the presence of the super soul within himself, his meditation is useless. Persons who have taken to the path of self-realization must therefore be very careful to avoid contamination by the influence of Maya. Srila Rupa Goswami says that a devotee should be completely free from all sorts of material desires. A devotee should not be affected by the results of karma and jnana. So this is what Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Completely devoid of the covering of karma and jnana. That is bhakti. One has to simply understand Krishna and carry out his desires. That is the pure devotional stage. Carry out his desires. So how do we know his desires? For that's why we need to have a bona fide spiritual master who doesn't add his own things and saying, oh, this is what Krishna wants. And this is what is really necessary. See, devotees, they need, especially neophytes, we need lots and lots of guidance and proper guidance. We try to follow blindly. It happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, it happens. But we need proper guidance. That is why the knowledge of scriptures is very, very important. That is why Prabhupada spent so much time and energy in writing these commentaries. So we don't mistake. We don't make mistakes. That who's the right spiritual master? What is there to follow? What is really pure devotion service? Am I being taken for a ride? What is happening? Otherwise, there's so many so-called gurus who will say, oh, this is what is the right thing, and people just follow. People, they just have faith. But one has to know, one has to simply understand Krishna and carry out his desires. That is pure devotional stage. The personified Vedas continued. Mystic yogis who still have contaminated desires for sense gratification are never successful in their attempt, nor can they realize a supersoul within the individual self. As such, the so-called yogis and jnanis are simply wasting their time in different types of sense gratification, either by mental speculation or by exhibition of limited mystic powers. Will never be liberated from conditioned life and will continue to go through repeated births and deaths. So, so-called yogis and jnanis, why they're simply wasting their time? Because if somebody is just doing mental speculation, that for jnanis, that this scripture means this word means that, it will not take him anywhere. And the exhibition of limited mystic powers, that is what the yogis get. Ashtasiddhis. To a certain extent, 1, 2, or all 8, to certain percentage, he can get those. But if he gets bewildered or he gets enamored by those Ashtasiddhis, then they'll never be liberated. For such persons, both this life and the next life are sources of tribulation. Such sinful persons are already suffering tribulations in this life, and because they're not perfect in self-realization, they will be plagued with further tribulations in the next life. Despite all endeavors to attain perfection, such yogis, contaminated by desires for sense gratification, will continue to suffer in this life and the next. So these powers, basically they make the yogi do what? He tries to do as much purity he has in his heart, he tries to help the public. Okay, he will go, okay, he cures some people, and people then thousands and thousands of people start following him. And then he produces maybe some gold chain or something from air, and people start following and they think, oh, he's Bhagwan, he's Bhagwan. Then what happens? He gets enamored. Then opulence will follow, then fame will follow. Krishna wants to see how much, even though he's a yogi and he wants to make progress, Krishna wants to see how much he's still attached to material desires. And then he tells Maya, you take care of this person. And Maya starts giving love. Same thing happens with devotees also. When we start making some progress, Krishna will give money, Krishna will give followers, Krishna will give, he can give, I don't know, he can give, that, oh, this person is such a good speaker, he knows the philosophy, he's such a nice singer, and when he sings in 108 different melodies, and he can sing for hours and hours, kirtan and bhajans, people start following. But then that is a real test. If the person is really has some substance or just a puffed up rice. There's nothing inside. So that's where we all have to be very, very careful. Very careful. And if we are careful, then we can steadily make progress. Otherwise, there could be some obstacles. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that if sannyasis, persons in the renounced order of life who have left their homes for self-realization, do not engage themselves in the devotional service of the Lord, but become attracted by philanthropic work such as opening educational institutions, hospitals, or even monasteries, churches, or temples for demigods. They find only trouble from such engagements, not only in this life, but in the next. Sannyasis who do not take advantage of this life to realize Krishna simply waste their time and energy in activities outside the jurisdiction of the renounced order. A devotee's attempt to engage his energies in such activities as constructing a Vishnu temple, however, is never wasted. So a devotee's attempt to engage his energies in such activities as constructing a Vishnu temple, however, is never wasted. Such engagements are called Krishnarthe Akhila Cheshta, variegated activities performed to please Krishna. But again, we have to be very careful with what's inside us, inside in our heart, what the desire is. If I open this temple, then what? Is it going to give me name and fame, or is it really for the service of Krishna? It will depend on how much I'm attached with that building. It will show up. So bottom line is, we should be only attached to serving Krishna, not for my name and fame or my some material profits or anything else. That will not help. That will definitely not help. So we are not here to do pious activities. We are here to do bhakti. A philanthropist opening a school building and a devotee is constructing a temple are not on the same level. Although a philanthropist opening an educational institution may be pious activity, it comes under the laws of karma, whereas constructing a temple for Vishnu is devotional service. But even after that, even after we have opened a temple, how much attached we are, and how purely we have endeavored to open that temple. It all depends on that, how we're going to make progress. Devotional service is never within the jurisdiction of the laws of karma. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sagunan Samtitiyata Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Devotees of the personality of Godhead transcend all the reactions of the three modes of material nature and are situated on the transcendental platform of Brahman realization. So devotees of the personality of Godhead transcend all the reactions. Obviously, that's pure devotees, not us. They transcend all the reactions of the three modes of material nature and are situated on the transcendental platform of Brahman realization. That is pure devotion service. The devotees are liberated in both this life and the next. Any work done in this material world for yajna, Vishnu or Krishna is considered to be liberated work. But without connection with Achyuta, the infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no possibility of stopping the resultant actions of the law of karma. The life of Krishna consciousness is a life of liberation. The conclusion is that a devotee, by the grace of the Lord, is liberated in both this life and the next. Whereas karmis, jnanis, and yogis are never liberated, either in this life or the next. So no doubt, whatever Prabhupada is writing is perfect, but it depends whether we are doing pure devotional service or mixed devotional service. So for pure devotees, yes, they are liberated in this life, and obviously they don't have a next life. They'll just go back to the spiritual world. But this is the point, this is how powerful devotional service is. It can immediately take one beyond the modes of material nature. The personified Vedas continued. Dear Lord, anyone who by your grace has understood the glories of your lotus feet is callous to material happiness and distress. The material pangs are inevitable as long as we exist within the material world. But a devotee does not divert his attention to such actions and reactions, which are the results of pious and impious activities. So the material pangs are inevitable, material pangs or the material miseries are inevitable, but a devotee does not divert his attention to such actions and reactions. So whatever pious activities we have done previously or previous lifetimes, I'll get the good results. Impious, not so good results, or good results which materially are not good. But Prabhupada says, nor is a devotee very much disturbed or pleased by praise or condemnation from people in general. And this is what Krishna also says, Tant titikshasva bharat. O Arjun, tolerate happiness and distress, profit or loss, all the dualities in the material world. A devotee is sometimes greatly praised because of his transcendental activities, and sometimes is criticized, even though there is no reason for adverse criticism. But the devotee, this is the quality of a devotee, that he is not disturbed. He is callous. Callous means hard-hearted. Hard-hearted doesn't mean he is hard-hearted seeing the sufferings of people in general. No. For them, he is very soft-hearted. He wants to help everybody. But when it comes to his own, whether profit or loss, happiness, distress, man, apman means whether he is praised or whether he is criticized or whether he is insulted, and sometimes even if he is beaten up, he's never disturbed. He's never disturbed. But we are actually on completely opposite. If somebody praises us, we are on the seventh heaven. Oh yeah, you only know some of my glories. You don't know all of my glories. And somebody criticizes us. Oh, we have to get back to you. I'll show you what I am. But at the same time, when we see somebody else suffering, we'll become callous. Oh, he's going through his karma. I should not be entangled. I need to do my chanting, and I'm just going to stay away. This is our attitude. We always try to see my profit. Where is my profit? In every situation and through everybody. But this is not devotional attitude. Devotee par dukhi means he's sad when he sees other person sad. Even if that other person is sad for his material desires, but devotee cannot see anybody suffering. And for his own, he doesn't care. He thinks, this is his realization. Whatever happens to me, it's by the mercy of the Lord. It's good for my bhakti, and that's it. And actually, it is good for devotees' bhakti. Even if he is criticized unnecessarily or even necessarily, who cares? He is criticized. So that means he has to get more serious about his bhakti. And those people who are criticizing him, they are taking away lots and lots of his negative karmic reactions, for which he had to suffer. But here he is suffering by just some criticism. That's fine. So this is how a devotee looks at. But then this is what, now this is the benchmark, and how we come up to that, or how do we measure up to that, we have to see. So this introspection we can do always, and many times what happens, because we are not at that level where we can where we can neutrally, without bias, even introspect. That is when the association of devotees comes in handy. So we can ask them, and the devotees should be truthful when they're helping somebody else, not just I scratch your back and you scratch my back, that kind of attitude. It doesn't help. So the point is, we all, this is the goal, is to make progress on the path of bhakti. And if somebody can help, okay, somebody has criticized you, and maybe this was the reason you got criticized, so we better be careful. So that's good help. Not just somebody criticized me and oh no, Prabhu, that guy is rascal. That is, he's fool. He's jealous of you, and you are a Mahabhagavat. If you were Mahabhagavat, we wouldn't be here suffering. So the point is, criticism will be there, and it just how we react to it. The pure devotee, however, is always callous to praise or condemnation by ordinary people. Actually, the devotee's activities are on the transcendental plane. He is not interested in the praise or condemnation of people engaged in material activities. If the devotee can thus maintain his transcendental position, his liberation in this life and the next is guaranteed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is what Bhagavatam says, 10th canto, that if going through all this criticism or some whatever negative reactions, a devotee is still engaged in service of the Lord with his body, mind, and words, liberation is guaranteed for him. Thinking that Krishna, this is your anukampa, this is your extreme mercy on me, that you are making me go through all this. Then Krishna becomes very, very affectionate, very merciful on that person. And then the liberation is guaranteed. A devotee's transcendental position within this material world is maintained by the association of pure devotees. Simply by hearing the glorious activities enacted by the Lord in different ages and in different incarnations. So this is in the association of devotees, we should be hearing the glorious activities enacted by the Lord in different ages and in different incarnations. Not that in the association of devotees, we start criticizing others or start gossiping about others. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on this principle. Narottam Das Thakur has sung, "My dear Lord, let me be engaged in your transcendental loving service, as indicated by the previous acharyas, and let me live in the association of pure devotees. That is my desire, life after life." See, he's not even asking for liberation. He's not saying, please take me back to your spiritual world. He said, just give me life after life, no problem. But just give me association of your devotees, association of pure devotees, and engage me in transcendental loving service. So whether it is service that physically we do some service, or whether it's a service of hearing and chanting, whatever, you're just in the association That's the best thing to do. In other words, a devotee does not much care whether or not he is liberated. He is eagerly for devotional service. Devotional service means that one does not do anything independently of the sanction of the acharyas. The actions of the Krishna consciousness movement are directed by the previous acharyas, headed by Srila Rupa Goswami. In the association of devotees following these principles, a devotee is able to perfectly maintain his transcendental position. So this is all we have to do. Serve in the association of devotees. That's all. So simple. And that's what Prabhupada says. So if he follows, a devotee is able to perfectly maintain his transcendental position. So otherwise he can go haywire or here or there. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that a devotee who knows him perfectly is very dear to him. 4 kinds of pious men take to devotion service. If a pious man is in distress, he approaches the Lord for mitigation of his distress. If a pious man is in need of material help, he prays to the Lord for such help. If a pious man is actually inquisitive about the signs of God, he approaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Similarly, a pious man who is simply eager to know the science of Krishna also approaches the Supreme Lord. So, artharthi jnani cha bharatarisham. So, out of all these 4 classes, last is praised by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita, one who a person who tries to understand Krishna with full knowledge and devotion by following in the footsteps of previous acharyas, conversant with scientific knowledge of the Supreme Lord, is praiseworthy. So that's a praiseworthy. Otherwise, people are approaching Lord with their shopping list. Prabhupada said that. Although Krishna said they all are pious, but what I really like, Krishna said, those who approach me with knowledge. Such a devotee can understand that all conditions of life, favorable or unfavorable, are created by the supreme will of the Lord. So nothing can happen without the supreme will, without his sanction. Nothing can happen. Nothing. It's like they say, no, even a blade of grass does not move without his will. So he has to sanction it. And when he, such a devotee, can understand, when he has fully surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, he does not care whether his condition of life is favorable or unfavorable. A devotee takes even an unfavorable condition to be the special favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, there are no unfavorable conditions for a devotee. Knowing that everything is coming by the will of the Lord, he sees every condition as favorable. And in any condition of life, he is simply enthusiastic to discharge his devotional service. Yes, it's hard to maintain the enthusiasm and determination to carry on with devotion service. It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. But that's what the test is. The test will be there for us to see how much progress I have made. This devotional attitude is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. A devotee is never distressed in reverse conditions of life, nor is he overjoyed in favorable conditions either. So that's also a test. If there are favorable conditions and I am overjoyed, and in the process I might commit offenses towards others, see, my life is wonderful, I'm making so much money and so many people are following me and they all come into my house and say Hare Krishna and I feed them so much of prasad. Okay, favorable conditions, good. But we should not get puffed up because of that. It's only the mercy of the Lord. In the higher stages of devotional service, a devotee is not even concerned with a list of do's and do nots. Such a position can be maintained only by following in the footsteps of the acharyas. Because a pure devotee follows in the footsteps of the acharyas, any action he performs to discharge devotional service should be understood to be on the transcendental platform. So following in the footsteps of the acharyas means, not literally following that, or means the instructions, following the instructions of the acharyas, and following how they do the devotional service. Lord Krishna therefore instructs us that an acharya is above criticism. A neophyte devotee should not consider himself to be on the same plane as an acharya. It should be accepted that the acharyas are on the same platform as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as such, neither Krishna nor his representative acharya should be subjected to any adverse criticism by neophyte devotees. Again, acharya or a guru, one has to be very careful of who's the real acharya, who's the real guru. And then, yes, whatever Prabhupada says is true. Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigyena Bhujaya. But that acharya has to be perfect also. Beyond any doubts and beyond any activity that could be against or not in line with the scriptures. So one has to be very, very careful. That's all. And that is why I always stress on just follow Srila Prabhupada, read his books. Then we'll have the proper understanding. The personified Vedas thus worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in different ways. Offering worship to the Supreme Lord by praying means remembering his transcendental qualities, pastimes, and activities. But the Lord's pastimes and qualities are unlimited. It's not possible for us to remember all the qualities of the Lord. Therefore, the personified Vedas worshipped to the best of their ability. And at the end, they spoke as follows. So I guess we are coming towards the end. Dear Lord, although Lord Brahma, the predominating deity of the highest planet, Brahmaloka, and King Indra, the predominating demigod of the heavenly planets, as well as the predominating deities of such planets as the sun and the moon, are all very confidential directors of this material world. They have very little knowledge about you. Then what can ordinary human beings and mental speculators know of you? It's not possible for anyone to enumerate the unlimited transcendental qualities of a lordship. No one, not even the mental speculators and the demigods in higher planetary systems, is actually able to estimate the length and breadth of your form and characteristics. So not even the mental speculators. Krishna is even beyond the speculation. That's what Krishna is. So to know Krishna, to understand Krishna, his pastimes, his qualities, his activities, and even demigods, Brahmaloka, or even Brahmaji, Shivji, nobody can understand him properly. We think that even your lordship does not have complete knowledge of your transcendental qualities. The reason is that you are unlimited. Although it is not befitting to say that you do not know yourself, it is practical to understand that because you have unlimited qualities and energies, And because your knowledge is also unlimited, there is unlimited competition between your knowledge and your expansion of energies. Just like once somebody asked Prabhupada, it was a trick question, that can Krishna make something that he himself cannot lift? Can he make something so huge that he himself cannot lift? So he was thinking, the person who asked this question was, if Prabhupada says, yes, he can make something that he cannot lift, then Krishna doesn't have all the strength. Then if Prabhupada said, no, Krishna cannot make something that he cannot lift, then Krishna, there's something lacking in Krishna. But Prabhupada, he answered it this way. Yes, Krishna can make something that he cannot lift, but next moment he will lift it. Because his energies are always expanding. There is no limit to his energies or potencies or qualities. So for one moment, he will create something that he cannot lift, but next moment he'll lift it. This is Krishna. So this is why the Vedas say, even my Lord, even I think you don't know what are all your energies. Yes, for a moment he doesn't know because the energies are increasing. So, and then on top of it, this is Krishna's energies, his qualities, his pastimes, his beauty, and all the wonderful qualities that he has, his opulences. And on the other hand, his devotees, they are also unlimited. They also want to serve him in unlimited ways. They also want to please him unlimitedly. And they serve him. So by serving Krishna, they get the bliss. Their bliss is always increasing because Krishna's energies are always increasing. And seeing their bliss increasing, the devotees are so blissful, Krishna's happiness also increases. Devotees see him happy, more happy, their happiness increase, their enthusiasm to serve him increase. There is a competition, unlimited competition. There is end to it. There is no end. The impersonalist cannot understand all this. How is it possible? You're just making it up. This is all mythology. This is their favorite word. What is it? What nonsense you're talking about? Because they haven't tasted devotional service, they don't know how much bliss, what kind of taste is there. It's a simple example. There's a simple example of this. I'm pretty sure everybody, all of you, must have tasted rasgulla. Simple rasgulla. And if I ask you, how does it taste? If you say it's sweet, well, gulab jamun is also sweet, jalebi is also sweet. Is there a difference between the sweetness of rasgulla and sweetness of gulab jamun? Yes. What's the difference? It's in texture. It's in how spongy it is, or whatever. But it doesn't help anybody understand who hasn't tasted rasgulla. What does rasgulla taste like? So he can only understand by tasting it himself. What is rasgulla? Simple as that. You taste it. So similarly, devotional service. Although it's a mundane example, but devotional service. So it's hard to explain what kind of happiness one gets. by chanting and by getting up early in the morning, doing Mangalarti, you're attending Mangalarti, you're doing deity worship, cooking for the Lord, even if it is too hot or too cold, there is some pleasure. Well, actually, not some pleasure, plenty of pleasure. And others, they just cannot understand it. It just, they haven't tasted it. That's all. Once they taste it, they'll also not give it up. So this is devotional service. This is bhakti. People ask me, don't you get bored of chanting same name every day? I said, no, I don't get bored. I don't have that kind of taste. If I had, I would chant more. But that's where the difference is. The idea is that because God and his knowledge are both unlimited, as soon as God is cognizant of some of his energies, he perceives that he has still more energies. In this way, both his energies and his knowledge increase. Because both of them are unlimited, there is no end to the energies and no end to the knowledge with which to understand the energies. God is undoubtedly omniscient, but the personified Vedas say that even God himself does not know the full extent of his energies. This does not mean that God is not omniscient. When an actual fact is unknown to a certain person, this is called ignorance or lack of knowledge. This is not applicable to God, however, because he knows himself perfectly. But still, as his energies and activities increase, he also increases his knowledge to understand them. Both are increasing unlimitedly, and there is no end to it. In that sense, it can be said that even God himself does not know the limit of his energies and qualities. How God is unlimited in his expansion of energies and activities can be roughly calculated by any sane and sober living entity. It is said in the Vedic literature that innumerable universes issue forth when Mahavishnu exhales in his Yog Nidra, and that innumerable universes enter his body when he inhales. We have to imagine that these universes, which according to our limited knowledge are expanded unlimitedly, are so great that the gross and subtle ingredients of 5 elements of cosmic manifestation, namely earth, water, fire, air, sky, and along with the total material energy and false ego, are not only within the universe but cover the universe in 7 layers, each layer 10 times bigger than the previous one. In this way, each and every universe is very securely packed, and there are numberless universes. All these universes float within the innumerable pores of the transcendental body of Mahavishnu. It is stated that just as the atoms and particles of dust are floating within the air, along with the birds and their numbers cannot be calculated. So innumerable universes are floating within the pores of the transcendental body of the Lord. For this reason, the Vedas say that God is beyond the grasp of our knowledge. Avana Manasa Gochara. To understand the length and breadth of God is beyond the jurisdiction of our mental speculation. If a person who is actually learned and sane does not claim to be God, but tries to understand God, making distinctions between spirit and matter. By such careful distinction, or by such careful discrimination, one can clearly understand that the Supreme Soul is transcendental to both the superior and inferior energies although he has a direct connection with both. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains that although everything is resting on his energy, he is different or separate from the energy. That's why he is completely inconceivable. Although he is as Mahavishnu is bigger than the biggest, all the universes are floating in and out, but out of his mercy, he still appears as a small deity in our home so that we can serve him, we can worship him, we can develop relationship with him. This is completely inconceivable. This is his mercy. He allows us to serve. Anyway, I guess I can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, so we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Jai Shri
Krishna, Jai
Prabhupada.
Shri
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare